Alright, so this is going to be something that's a little less formal than my Avengers review was, and much more spoiler-ridden because there's a lot of stuff to talk about with this movie. But I did catch a Prometheus midnight premiere in 3D, and I originally wasn't going to go because recent financial restrictions, but I kind of got in a mood last night. I was like, damn, I got to get out of the house. So last minute, I decided to go. The theater wasn't sold out at all, but my friend Jeff, who saw it up in King of Prussia in Pennsylvania, I'm in Ocean City now, of course, said it was packed and that the 2:30 showing was packed too. So hopefully this movie does well, and I'm really hoping that it does well because I felt like I saw half a movie. I'll get to that in a moment. But overall thoughts on Prometheus. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. But it kind of had live for your die hard syndrome to it. Because all the important plot points, everything that's really important to what's going on, can be pieced together by the very first trailer. Not saying that's a shallow movie, but there's a lot of imagery in that you know where the plot's going, and it kind of ruins it. I felt like if the movie was marketed a little bit better, I would have been able to thoroughly enjoy it, but it was kind of like Live for Your Die Hard. Every single major action sequence was just laid out right in front of you for the trailer. You go in there hoping that they didn't show everything, but they kind of did. Past that, there was a lot of questions raised in this movie, and a lot that are left unanswered. It did a fair share of answering some of those questions, and there was a question that was, I think personally was answered. It's open to interpretation, but I think personally was answered that everybody wanted to know. But I didn't really feel like anybody walking out of the movie, because I always like to overhear the chatter of people talking, because I usually go to see movies by myself. I usually like to overhear what people are saying as they're walking out of the movie, and I don't think a lot of people picked up on this, but in a matter of speaking, yes, the alien creature was in the movie. I'm not just talking about, once again, spoilers. Spoilers. Turn this off if you haven't watched it. I'm not just talking about the creature that popped out of the space jockey at the very end of the movie. I'm talking about that black goo. I'm pretty sure that actually is the alien. Because what it felt like they were getting into is there's millions of different ways this species can propagate. You saw like a couple of different ways right there in the movie. You saw the black goo be ingested by somebody, and it seemed to really kind of deconstruct them molecularly. And during that molecular deconstruction, he impregnated somebody through more conventional means. And that could be one way they propagate. Or they could propagate as a full species in and of themselves. And that's when it starts to get into something that I never really agreed on with the alien creature. And the reason why I didn't agree with it was because when I was growing up in the early 90s, it really felt like this aspect of the alien creature was kind of used as a marketing gimmick to sell toys. But the idea is that the alien creature, once it's impregnated in somebody, absorbs some of the DNA and it pops out a completely different creature. So like in the early 90s, you had like gorilla aliens, scorpion aliens, all these different animal hybrid version of the alien creature. I never really liked that. I never really liked that because it felt like a marketing gimmick, but it came from Alien 3 where the alien creature popped out of, it depends on which version you see. See, the theatrical version, it's a dog. The real version, it's an ox. But it came out as a quadruped. So the idea is based in canon, but I never really liked it. Like, the way I always kind of wrote it off in my mind, because I actually used to write quite a bit of alien fan fiction when I was younger, was that if you came out of a quadruped, you were a quadruped. If you came out of a biped, you were a biped. Or you being alien. And I kind of like that better, because the way I saw it is that it just looks like the facehugger, when it gets on you, it's implanting an embryo inside you, and it just develops and pops out. I never really saw where any mixture of DNA came in, but maybe that will be explained in Prometheus too. But big thing for a lot of people is the alien in it? Is the alien in it? I say, if you want to go with the DNA mixture theory of how the aliens propagate, then yes, it was in there. And it was, in my mind, it was 90% definitely in there, that this was the alien creature. This black goo was the alien creature. And there's been several theories about what this thing is. And some people, think that, oh, they're worshipped in some way because of the big monolithic head, not monolithic head, but, big monumental head. And the urns that kind of seemed sort of spiritual in some way. Some people were thinking it was, they were worshipped by the space jockeys. I don't. And I think that the movie actually pretty much said it itself, is that the aliens are some kind of form of biological warfare. I think that the aliens from the get-go were created as weapons. Just like, any kind of biological warfare that you've seen throughout history. Like, the British selling Native Americans smallpox-ridden blankets. Think of it as something like that, having to kill off the enemy without endangering yourself, biological warfare. And that's what I think the aliens are. And I always kind of felt that in some way, that that's what they were. In terms of seeing the alien as it's recognized, as widely recognized, the alien, no, you do not get to see that. You do get to see it kind of at the end, kind of. But I think it's very heavily implied that this is a pre-morph of the... I can't even call it a final alien that you see, because it throws that into doubt. This might just be an incarnation of this being, which might wind up having a name. So yes, theoretically, the xenomorph is in it. The alien is in this movie. Just not in the incarnation that you are used to seeing it as. Now, past that, so there have been some pretty big, lofty questions posed in this movie, such as the origin of the human species. And you kind of see that in the movie, where it's very heavily implied that we are the progenitor of the space jockey. And not even implied, pretty much said. But I feel that there's the... But then it leaves you with the question of why. Why did they create us? And my theory on that, which would probably be explained in Prometheus 2, should this make them, a lot of money. I think it needs to clear $130 million before it starts making money, and it's already made like $50 million overseas. Is that we were created as test subjects for this weapon. That's the way I see it. That's the way I see it going. Is that we were created to be test subjects for this alien species, but that theory might have some flaws to it, because then there's time gaps involved, because, well, you figure that the human species, couple 100 million years of evolution, stuff like that. So in the opening scene, you're seeing prehistory, theoretically after the age of the dinosaurs. Yeah. So that's a long time to develop a weapon and then have test subjects to use it on. Even though they flat out say that what happens in that spaceship, that pyramid that they keep calling it, happened 2,000 years ago. So what that outbreak happened 2,000 years ago. Still, there's a lot. There's a lot that could be explained, but at the same time, my theory is still that we were test subjects for this weapon, and there are holes in that theory, but it's the best one I have to go off of because the poor fucking space jockey at the beginning pretty much had to decompose himself, and it looked like, I think it was implied that that same black goo was ingested by him to create us. So maybe there's all kinds of different explanations for what the black goo is. For example, you saw it get into some grubs, some worms, and they didn't decompose, they didn't fall apart. They kind of morphed into something altogether new. And it looked like the human character, I think his name was Matt. I forget all the character names, except for Elizabeth Shaw, who might be a distant cousin of Dakota. But yeah, I forget all the characters' names. There's Elizabeth Shaw, and then there's David. So, yeah, the characterization of a lot of these people was kind of bad, but it really wasn't about the characters as much as it was the theories. We see him take a small little amount because David infects him, and he starts to be molecularly deconstructed, just like the space jockey at the beginning of the movie was. So maybe there's all kinds of different uses for this black goo. Once again, it didn't really answer that question. And of course, the other question that wasn't answered was, why do they want us dead now? Why do they want us destroyed? Because one thing I will say is the main driving force of why they're actually on this expedition is that Peter Whalen, the founder of the Whalen Company, which later becomes Whalen-Yutani, is thought to be dead, actually alive. That plot point what you saw coming a mile away. And they're actually there because he wants to find the secret to immortality, thinking that these people are actually gods. And he just wants to live. I mean, it's relatable, but it's not really built up well because, once again, the movie's not so much about the characters as much as it is about the theories, about the plot. And you got to wrap your mind around it, but I felt like, once again, bringing everything full circle, I saw half a movie because there's a lot of questions that are left unanswered that would have to be explained in Prometheus 2. According to Wikipedia, though, which is fortunate and unfortunate, they quoted one of the head writers of the movie saying that if there is a sequel, it's going to move even further away from the Alien franchise. And I'm like, no, keep some kind of connection. I mean, like, the connection here was loose. Sort of. Honestly, this is the movie I wanted to see. This is the prequel to Alien that I wanted. You see the origin of the alien species, but what was more interesting was, who the fuck was that guy? The guy in the chair, that big fucker with the, that guy. What's his story? It's obviously his ship. How did it get there? And, oh, by the way, I was actually kind of disappointed about this. The planet they are on is not LV-426. It's LV-223. So you don't actually get to see the story of that ship. You don't actually get to see the story of that space jockey ship. How did that wind up on that craggy asteroid planet that just looks like the stuff of nightmares? This isn't that ship, which I was actually kind of disappointed with. I was hoping that we were getting the story of that specific space jockey, that specific ship. It's not that. The planet that they go to is LV-223, and I guess from the trailers I should have known that it wasn't the same planet, because this planet actually looked like it had some kind of different atmosphere. A very, very different atmosphere. but it delivered, but it set up more. I want more, and we're probably going to have to, wait a couple of years to get it. God forbid we have to wait 10 years or something like that, but Ridley Scott seems to want to do it. All the writing team seems to want to do it. They're talking franchise off of Prometheus, and I would like to see more because they set up a lot. This movie was a lot of setup, and you did get answers to some questions, and you got answers to some questions that weren't specifically stated to you as answers in terms of the Alien franchise. But I don't want to see this move further away from Alien. I want to see it kind of interwoven like a net, kind of like how this was. There was even musical cues that tied it in to Alien. Like when you first see Peter Weyland in that hologram, you hear one of the main motifs from the first Alien movie. And there's other musical samples, or not samples, but more like redone versions of it throughout the movie. And it really made you feel at home. It made it feel like familiar territory. And true, Prometheus does stand as a movie by itself. You could watch Prometheus without having to watch any of the Alien movies. But I still want to see it interwoven. I still want to see not just the universe, but the mythology all kind of interwoven together. And we did, what I saw was satisfying, but it posed so many questions of its own that I want more, and now we're going to have to wait years to get more. Prometheus, I suggest seeing it. I liked it. I can't say I love it, though, until I see if the payoff is good. I have to see if it's actually going to go as far as I wanted to go in Prometheus 2. So definitely see this movie. I liked it. And if you want to nerd out with me, you want to chat about this movie, your theories about this movie, feel free to hit me up. Skype, TR Request, AIM, TR Request. Love to chat about it.